November 2009. A small boxing gym in Philadelphia. Muhammad Ali, 67 years old and battling Parkinson's disease, sat in a wheelchair watching young fighters train. His hands trembled. His once booming voice was now a whisper. But his eyes, those eyes that had stared down every champion who dared face him, were still alert, still watching. Then the door opened. Joe Frazier walked in. He was 65 years old, moving slower than he used to, but still strong, still proud. The two men hadn't spoken in nearly 40 years. Not since their brutal trilogy of fights that had defined heavyweight boxing. Not since Ali's cruel words had destroyed their friendship before it even began. The gym went silent. Everyone knew the history. Everyone knew about the hatred, the insults, the 3 wars they'd fought in the ring. Everyone knew that these two legends had spent decades as bitter enemies. Joe Frazier walked across the gym floor toward Muhammad Ali. Their eyes met. And what happened next? The words they spoke, the gesture they shared, made grown men cry. It made everyone in that gym understand that even the deepest wounds can heal. Even the bitterest enemies can find peace. This is the story of how two warriors finally made peace after 40 years of pain. Before we reveal what Ali and Frazier said to each other in that moment, hit that like button and subscribe. This is a true story about forgiveness, regret, and the brotherhood that exists between fighters. Comment if you remember their legendary battles. The trilogy that changed boxing. To understand the weight of this meeting, you need to understand what Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier meant to each other, and to boxing. Their rivalry was more than just sports. It was personal, political, and painful in ways that went far beyond punches. They fought 3 times. March 1971, the fight of the century at Madison Square Garden. Frazier won by decision, handing Ali his first professional loss. January 1974, a rematch that Ali won on points. And October 1975, the Thrilla in Manila, possibly the greatest boxing match ever fought. Ali won when Frazier's corner stopped the fight after the 14th round. These weren't just fights. They were wars. Both men gave everything they had. They left pieces of themselves in those rings. Physical pieces, mental pieces, pieces they'd never get back. Those fights took years off both our lives, trainer Eddie Futch later said. The punishment they absorbed, the damage they did to each other, it was almost inhuman. But they were warriors. Neither would quit. But the physical damage wasn't the worst part. The emotional and psychological wounds cut deeper. The cruelty that destroyed everything. Before they ever fought, Ali destroyed any chance of friendship with his words. He called Frazier an Uncle Tom. He called him ignorant. He said Frazier was too ugly to be champion. He mocked Frazier's appearance, his intelligence, his dignity. The worst part? Ali knew these insults were lies. Joe Frazier wasn't an Uncle Tom. He was a proud black man who'd grown up in brutal poverty in South Carolina, who'd worked in a slaughterhouse to feed his family, who'd fought his way to the top through sheer determination. Frazier had actually helped Ali when Ali's boxing license was stripped for refusing the Vietnam War draft. While Ali was banned from boxing, losing his prime years, Frazier supported him publicly. Frazier even helped Ali financially, lending him money when Ali was broke. Joe Frazier was a good man who did nothing but help me, Ali later admitted. And I repaid him by calling him names, by trying to humiliate him. I did it to sell tickets to make our fights bigger. But I hurt him. I hurt him deep. The insults worked. Their fights became massive events. But the cost was a friendship that never got to exist and a rivalry that turned into genuine hatred. Ali took something from me I can never get back, Frazier said years later. He took my dignity. He made people think I was something I wasn't. I forgave him for the beatings in the ring. Those heal. But the words? Those never stopped hurting. 40 years of silence. After Manila, they went their separate ways. Ali continued boxing for a few more years, fighting on too long, taking too much damage. Frazier retired and opened a gym in Philadelphia, training young fighters, trying to build a legacy beyond his rivalry with Ali. They'd see each other occasionally at boxing events. The interactions were cold, formal. Frazier would nod. Ali would look away. The boxing world kept trying to reconcile them, to create that movie moment where the old enemies embrace and forgive. But it never happened. People wanted us to be friends. Frazier explained. "They wanted me to say, 'It's all good, Muhammad, we're brothers.' But it wasn't all good. He hurt me, and he never really apologized. Not in a way that mattered." Ali, for his part, seemed to genuinely regret his treatment of Frazier. As the years passed and Ali's Parkinson's disease worsened, as he became more reflective about his life and legacy, the guilt seemed to weigh on him. "Dad talked about Joe a lot in his later years," Ali's daughter Hannah said. "He'd say, 'I was wrong about Joe. I should have treated him better.' But he didn't know how to fix it. And his Parkinson's made it hard to express what he was feeling." The meeting that almost didn't happen. The November 2009 meeting wasn't planned as a grand reconciliation. Ali was in Philadelphia for a charity event. Someone mentioned he wanted to visit Frazier's gym. A gesture of respect, a quiet acknowledgement of Frazier's legacy. Frazier's people were skeptical. "Joe doesn't need Ali coming around for publicity," one associate said. "If Ali wants to come, it has to be real. No cameras, no press. Just two old fighters." Ali's team agreed. This wouldn't be a photo op. Just a private visit to Frazier's gym, where the younger man trained fighters and kept his connection to boxing alive. When the day came, Frazier was nervous. "I didn't know what to expect," he later told a friend. "Part of me didn't want to see him. Part of me had been waiting 40 years for this moment." Ali was nervous too. His Parkinson's had progressed significantly. He communicated mostly through gestures now, his voice reduced to whispers. But he'd insisted on making this visit. Something needed to be said, even if he couldn't say it clearly. The tension in the gym. When Muhammad Ali's van pulled up to Frazier's gym that November afternoon, word spread quickly through the building. Young fighters stopped training. Coaches put down their mitts. Everyone gathered, sensing they were about to witness something important. Ali was helped out of the van and into a wheelchair. The Parkinson's had taken so much from him. His voice, his grace, his ability to move freely. But his eyes were still alert, still taking everything in. Joe Frazier stood at the back of the gym, arms crossed, watching Ali approach. His face was unreadable. 40 years of hurt, 40 years of anger, 40 years of waiting for something. An apology, an acknowledgement, something stood between them. The gym was silent except for the squeak of Ali's wheelchair wheels on the floor. The weight of history. Everyone in that gym understood what they were witnessing. This wasn't just two old athletes meeting. This was the culmination of one of the most complex, painful relationships in sports history. "You could feel the weight of it," recalled one of the young fighters present. "All those battles, all those words, all those years of hatred, it was all right there in that room. We didn't know if they'd hug or start throwing punches." Ali's wheelchair stopped about 10 feet from where Frazier stood. For a long moment, neither man moved. They just looked at each other, really looked, for the first time in decades. What did they see? Two old warriors broken by time and battle. Ali saw the man he'd tormented, the fighter who'd given him 3 of the hardest fights of his life, the opponent who'd helped define his greatness. Frazier saw the man who'd hurt him like no one else ever had, but also the greatest fighter who ever lived, now reduced to a trembling figure in a wheelchair. Frazier's internal battle. Joe Frazier had every right to turn around and walk away. Nobody would have blamed him. Ali had spent years tearing him down, making him a villain, using cruel words to promote their fights. Those words had stuck. Even decades later, people remembered Ali calling Frazier an Uncle Tom more clearly than they remembered Frazier's incredible achievements in the ring. "I wrestled with it every day," Frazier admitted to a friend. "Part of me wanted to forgive him. We were both just fighters doing our job. But another part of me, the part that had to listen to those insults, that had to hear my kids come home crying because someone at school repeated what Ali said, that part couldn't let go." Standing in his own gym, watching Ali in that wheelchair, Frazier faced a choice. He could hold on to the anger, protect himself, make Ali feel the pain of rejection one more time. Or he could do what Ali perhaps didn't deserve but desperately needed. He could forgive. Ali's silent apology. Muhammad Ali couldn't speak clearly anymore, but he could still communicate. Slowly, with hands trembling from Parkinson's, he raised his arms toward Frazier. The gesture was unmistakable. A request for embrace, a physical apology, an acknowledgement that words had failed him but his body could still express what his voice couldn't. That was the moment everything changed, remembered Ali's companion that day. Ali opened his arms to Joe, completely vulnerable, completely honest. No more trash talk. No more games. Just one old fighter asking another for forgiveness. Frazier saw Ali's raised arms, saw the trembling hands, saw the eyes pleading for something. Reconciliation, forgiveness, peace. And Frazier had to decide. Would he walk toward Ali or walk away? The longest walk. Joe Frazier started walking toward Muhammad Ali. Each step seemed to take forever. With each step, 40 years of pain walked with him. The insults. The humiliation. The nights wondering why Ali had been so cruel. The anger he'd carried like a weight on his shoulders. But also with each step something else walked with him. The memory of their battles. The mutual respect that exists only between warriors who've tested each other to the limit. The understanding that they'd made each other great. The recognition that their rivalry, as painful as it was, had elevated boxing and given millions of people moments of pure athletic brilliance. Joe's face as he walked toward Ali, "I'll never forget it," said one witness. You could see the war happening inside him, pain and forgiveness fighting each other. And with every step, forgiveness was winning. Frazier reached Ali's wheelchair. He stood there for a moment, looking down at the man who'd been his greatest rival, his tormentor, his mirror image in so many ways. The embrace that healed. Joe Frazier bent down and wrapped his arms around Muhammad Ali. It wasn't a quick, polite hug. It was a full embrace, two old warriors holding each other, 40 years of pain dissolving in that moment. Ali's trembling hands came up and held onto Frazier's back. Even weakened by disease, Ali's grip was tight, desperate, grateful. Everyone in the gym was crying. Trainers, young fighters, staff, grown men with tears streaming down their faces. They were witnessing something sacred. The power of forgiveness, the healing of a wound that had seemed permanent. "I couldn't hold it together," one young boxer recalled. These were the toughest men who ever lived, and they were holding each other and crying. If they could forgive after everything they went through, what excuse did any of us have for holding grudges? The words that mattered. Frazier pulled back slightly and looked Ali in the eyes. His voice was thick with emotion. "We did it, man. We went to war and came back. We're still here." Ali nodded. His voice was barely audible, but those close enough heard him whisper, "I'm sorry, Joe. I'm sorry." It was what Frazier had waited 40 years to hear. Not, "I'm sorry I beat you" or "I'm sorry I won," but simply, "I'm sorry. Sorry for the insults. Sorry for the cruelty. Sorry for making Joe Frazier into a villain when he was really a hero." Frazier's eyes filled with tears. "I forgive you, man. I forgive you." Those 4 words, "I forgive you, man," released both men from a prison they'd been living in for decades. Ali from the guilt that had haunted his later years. Frazier from the anger that had poisoned so much of his life. You could feel the weight lift off both of them, an observer noted. It was physical, visible. They both looked younger, lighter, free. The brotherhood revealed. What happened next showed the truth that had always existed beneath their rivalry. These men had always been brothers. They'd pushed each other to greatness. They'd made each other legends. Their battles had been brutal, but they'd also been beautiful, 2 supreme athletes operating at the highest level, bringing out the best in each other. Frazier pulled up a chair next to Ali's wheelchair. For the next hour, they sat together, communicating mostly through looks and gestures since Ali's speech was so limited. But they didn't need many words. They had a shared language, the language of fighters who've been through wars together. They looked at old photos someone brought out. Ali and Frazier in their prime, young and powerful and seemingly invincible. They pointed at the images, smiled, remembering moments only they could truly understand. The young fighters kept trying to train, but they couldn't focus, recalled a trainer. They kept watching Ali and Frazier, seeing 2 legends finally at peace with each other. It was the best boxing lesson those kids ever got. And nobody threw a single punch. The mutual recognition. As they sat together, something became clear to everyone watching. Ali and Frazier needed each other. They always had. Their greatness was intertwined. Ali wasn't Ali without Frazier, and Frazier wasn't Frazier without Ali. "You made me better," Frazier told Ali. It wasn't about winning or losing. It was about how their rivalry had forced both of them to reach deeper, to find reserves they didn't know they had, to become legends. Ali nodded vigorously. He took Frazier's hand and held it, a simple gesture that spoke volumes. In that moment, they weren't the warrior who'd called cruel names and the warrior who'd never forgotten those names. They were just two old fighters grateful to have survived their battles and grateful to have had each other as worthy opponents. The tragedy of timing. Joe Frazier died of liver cancer less than 2 years after this meeting, in November 2011. Muhammad Ali would live until 2016. That afternoon in the gym was their final meaningful interaction, a fact that makes it even more precious and more painful. If only they'd done this sooner, Ali's daughter Layla said after Frazier's death. If only they'd had more years as friends instead of enemies. But I'm grateful they had that moment. That dad got to say he was sorry. That Joe got to forgive him. The timing reminds us of a crucial lesson. Don't wait to make things right. Don't assume you'll have time later. The grudges we hold, the apologies we postpone, the forgiveness we withhold, we act like we have forever to resolve these things. Ali and Frazier's story shows us we don't. The lesson about words. Muhammad Ali learned too late what his words had done to Joe Frazier. The insults that seemed like harmless promotion, that sold tickets and made their fights bigger. Those words had cut deep and left permanent scars. I was wrong about Joe, Ali told an interviewer before his death. I called him names to build up our fights, but I hurt him. Words can hurt worse than punches. Punches heal. Words stay with you forever. This is a lesson we all need to learn. In an age of social media, where insults fly freely and cruelty is often rewarded with attention, Ali's regret stands as a warning. The clever put-downs, the viral insults, the witty ways we tear others down, they have consequences. They cause real pain to real people. Frazier carried Ali's insults for 40 years. They poisoned his legacy, made him bitter, prevented him from fully enjoying his own greatness. All because Ali wanted to sell tickets. The lesson about forgiveness. Joe Frazier's forgiveness shows us something equally powerful. Holding on to anger hurts us more than it hurts the person we're angry at. For 40 years Frazier carried that pain. It affected his relationships, his happiness, his ability to enjoy his own achievements. When he finally forgave Ali, Frazier freed himself. I felt lighter after that day, he told a friend. Like I'd been carrying a heavy weight and finally put it down. Forgiveness isn't about saying what someone did was okay. It's about freeing yourself from the prison of anger. It's about recognizing that holding on to pain doesn't change the past. It only ruins the present. Joe showed all of us what real strength looks like, said one of his former fighters. Not the strength to knock someone out, but the strength to forgive someone who hurt you deeply. That's true toughness. The lesson about brotherhood. Perhaps the most important lesson from Ali and Frazier's final meeting is about the brotherhood that exists between people who've shared extreme experiences. They'd been through something together that nobody else could understand. 3 brutal wars in the ring. The pressure of being champions. The weight of representing more than just themselves. That shared experience created a bond that ultimately proved stronger than their animosity. The brotherhood of warriors transcended the rivalry of competitors. Only Ali knew what it was like to fight Frazier, and only Frazier knew what it was like to fight Ali, boxing historian Bert Sugar observed. That created a connection that couldn't be broken, even by years of hatred. Eventually, that connection pulled them back together. This brotherhood exists in many forms. Veterans who've been to war together. First responders who've faced danger together. Anyone who's been through extreme circumstances with others. That shared experience creates bonds that endure. The legacy they left. The image of Ali and Frazier embracing in that Philadelphia gym has become iconic. It represents the possibility of reconciliation, the power of forgiveness, the hope that even the deepest wounds can heal. That moment did more for boxing than any of their fights, said one sports writer. It showed that the sport wasn't just about violence and ego. It was about respect, about warriors recognizing each other's worth, about humanity ultimately winning over rivalry. Young fighters who witnessed that meeting took away lessons more valuable than any technical instruction. They learned that respect matters more than winning, that treating opponents with dignity is more important than trash talk, that the greatest victory is finding peace with your enemies. The final truth. Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier gave each other everything they had, in the ring and emotionally. They made each other great. They hurt each other deeply. They spent 40 years as enemies. And in the end, they found their way back to the brotherhood that should have existed all along. Their story reminds us that it's never too late to make things right. That forgiveness is possible even after decades of pain. That the words "I'm sorry" and "I forgive you" have power to heal wounds that seemed permanent. "I'm grateful Dad got to make peace with Joe," Ali's daughter Hannah said. Those last years of Dad's life, you could see that reconciliation meant everything to him. He needed Joe's forgiveness. And when he got it, something in him settled. He found peace. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that forgiveness is possible and necessary, hit that subscribe button right now. Share this video with someone you need to reconcile with. Comment below. Is there someone you need to forgive, or someone you need to apologize to? Remember, life is too short to carry grudges. Words have power to hurt, but they also have power to heal. The strongest thing you can do isn't to hold on to anger. It's to let it go. And the bravest thing you can do isn't to refuse forgiveness. It's to offer it freely. Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier were two of the toughest men who ever lived. They proved their toughness in 3 brutal fights that are still talked about today. But their real strength was shown in that Philadelphia gym, when they embraced and forgave each other after 40 years of pain. Don't wait 40 years. Don't assume you have time. Make the call. Send the message. Say the words that need to be said. Because life is fragile, time is limited, and the people we hurt or who hurt us won't always be around for us to make things right. Be like Joe Frazier. Have the strength to forgive. Be like Muhammad Ali. Have the humility to apologize. And be grateful if you get the chance to make peace before it's too late. Rest in peace, Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier. Your battles in the ring will be remembered forever. But that embrace in Philadelphia? That moment of forgiveness and brotherhood? That's your real legacy. That's what will inspire people long after the fight footage fades. That's the true measure of greatness.